Hey.
I'm loving the adjectives. Wow, I am impressed. Thanks, Joe. Greetings, friends. There are so many of you. How wonderful. That is really, really cool. I'm here tonight to talk about some stuff about singing and singing at a tonal center, and I'm just kind of excited to be with you. For starters, gosh, how many of there are you? Are there like 20? Are there 30?
According to what I'm seeing, there are 50, including you, there are 57 of us.
Yes, that's fantastic. Now, is this a combination of groups or?
Yes. You have the Mad Hatters from Danbury. You have the Coastal Chordsmen from Bridgeport. Silken Sounds from New Haven. You have Manchester, Connecticut represented. Waterbury, Connecticut represented.
Wow,
We got people from all over for you.
awesome. Well, I'm glad I wore my Ron Burgundy shirt. That's really good. Well, friends, it's great. I recognize many of your faces, and for those that I haven't met, my name is Donny. I'm a retired high school and college music teacher, and I work for the Barbershop Harmony Society now. I'm part of the music ed team, and it's great to see you. You know, one of the hard things about working at an organization that puts on events is that when you don't put on events, as I think Alan said it most succinctly, it sucks. You know, it's terrible, you know, and so we just want to get together and be together. But I'm so glad you're taking advantage of this opportunity to be with me today. I'd like to share my screen if I can, Joe. Is that
Yep,
looks like I can.
we made you a host.
All right. Well, I am going to share my screen and hopefully you can see my little BHS logo. Are we all good to go there?
Yep.
Right on. Well, thanks for listening in, everybody. We're going to talk about developing your awareness of a tonal center and some concepts to try it 2 times. A whole bunch to do by yourself as you just try to work on that skill. And then, of course, things to do whether you're in a quartet or a chorus next week. This will take about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Joe, is that okay? Do I need to go shorter or longer? Or
That works for me.
okay. If you have a question, rather than using the chat box and I might miss it, just go, Donny, and then I'll stop and I'll take a question and that'll be just fine because I love to interact. So we're gonna dive right in. First, we're gonna start with some myths about tonal center and singing in tune and all that stuff. And then we'll talk about some techniques because we just wanna give you some actual tools to use. First up, myths. I have heard every one of these, and one of them applies specifically to me in my terrible past. So we'll see if this resonates with anybody. Myth number 1, you must have perfect pitch to have an awareness of a tonal center. Friends, you don't. It can be taught, you can learn, you don't have to have perfect pitch. There's an old joke in the band world. How do you know if your students have perfect pitch? The answer is, oh, you won't, don't worry, they'll tell you. So anyway, myth number 2, as we age, people will always sing out of tune. That is a myth. That's not true and that's not fair. It's just about burning those synapse gaps and burning those pathways and developing that skill. And like anything, it can be developed. It really, really can. Myth number 3, you either have it or you don't. This skill is unteachable. False. This skill is totally teachable. Myth number 4, there is nothing between a half step. There is. So there's a note C and there's a note C sharp, and there are a whole bunch of notes between that C and that C sharp. Some would argue there's at least 100 notes between there, but we'll talk about that. Myth number 5, the only tool for knowing if you are in tune is at the end of the song, you hear the pitch and then you just blow the pitch pipe and then you discover you're flat. That is the only way to have a tool to learn how to sing in tune. That's not true, friends. There are other tools and we can give you. Myth number 6, and this is tragically my sob story. I am the section leader and I will always sing slightly sharp. This will lift the chorus up to singing the correct tonal center. Friends, Stop the insanity. Out of tune is out of tune, right? We want to sing in tune. All right. So does anything that I just talked about resonate with our 75 people on this call? Does anything resonate? Go, yes, or you're full of hooey, Mr. Rose, you and your BHS ways. Or does that all resonate with everybody?
Yes.
Sure does.
Can I hear
Right.
the 100 notes between the C and the C sharp?
There's at least 100. Yeah. We'll talk about sense in a minute, but yeah, we're gonna go through all those things. Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And before we talk about techniques, I'm gonna leave it on screen for a second too. I will tell you that as a longtime music teacher, I have learned in the instrumental world to be what vocalists would consider brutal by just saying, we're out of tune. We just attack it like instrumentalists, because if I work with a flute player or a clarinet player or a trumpet player or a cellist, they'll go, oh, he said flutes, work on this. And they will literally think, oh, it's the thing I'm holding in my hand. Piano player, oh, it's the keyboard. But obviously when we talk to singers, it's so personal. It's so personal. We just have to have that sensitivity to talk about pitch and probably not say things like, Joe, you're flat again. It just doesn't help. And then Joe will do strange things to sing in tune. So let's use some techniques that, I don't know, I think have worked really well for a lot of people over the years. And I think you'll find them helpful too. All right, I'm gonna bring my slide back. So, personal rehearsal techniques. So again, these are about you by yourself. Here are 10 strategies. You can do it away from rehearsal. Now remember, like all learning, some will work better than others, and pick the one that works for you. And following these are just a sample of hundreds of things. This is just my top 10 ideas that I'd like you to consider. And I will remind you too that everybody on this call has either been in a coaching session or in a judge eval session where a respected person says to you, the group, hey, everybody, and then they have you do this thing. And you're thinking, this is the stupidest thing I have ever been asked to do. And I will guarantee you, when you were thinking it was the stupidest thing they've ever asked you to do, somebody near you is saying, this was life-changing, right? It's happened to me a bunch. I remember a judge had us stand back to back as a quartet. And this is at an international contest, and I'm going, fine, I'll stand back to back with my quartet, and George Gipp had us do this, and George is brilliant, and I love George, so I did it. And I thought, well, what a waste of time. And then the other three said, oh my gosh, that was so helpful. So remember that if you do a technique that doesn't work for you, it may be profoundly helpful for other people. If you're all with me, can you give me a thumbs up? Thanks. All right. Rehearsal technique number one, discover beats in tuning. Beats is the difference of, because pitch is a frequency, obviously you know that A is 440 vibrations a second, or a lower one is 220 vibrations a second, or a lower one is 110 vibrations a second. So it's vibrating. And if you hear a fast wobble between your note and somebody near you, there's a violent disagreement. So the easiest way to hear that is to just take a pitch pipe and literally blow it and then hum at the same time. And you'll notice if you're out of tune, you'll hear a wobble. So here's an example of a really out of tune note. And you can hear the gong, 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 gong. Now, the faster it is, the further you're away now, but you'll notice I'm gonna slow it down, and that means it's getting closer to in tune. So I'm humming low and the pitch pipe is blowing there. And there's that moment when it locks up. That's when the note I'm humming is the same frequency or really close to the note on the pitch pipe. So this isn't about anything else than just having people learn like, oh, that wobble, that means I'm in disagreement. Now, you might be right and the person next to you might be wrong, but just start to discover that those beats mean something and that there's a disagreement. Number two, I know everybody knows this, but it's really important to hit this very, very clearly. The piano lies. Western tuning lies. Equal temperament was developed at around Bach's time. We used to think it was Bach, but actually now we know it wasn't. But Bach developed the well-tempered clavier where we could play everything in every single key, which was kind of a novel idea because we only used to play things in a couple of keys. French horns, trumpets, instruments, they didn't have keys, so they just played on the overtone series. And if they wanted to change key, they'd put in a new crook and they play higher or lower. And so what they did was they figured out, well, let's make everything equally out of tune. So as you know, the octaves line up beautifully. So all the A's and the A's and the A's and the A's, they sound great. They're really in tune. But instead of making the chords really ring in tune, they just make every half step 100 cents, which means that a perfect fifth is very close. It's just about 2 cents off, but it's a little out, it's a little flat. So when a piano tuner finishes tuning the piano, he or she will listen to it going, you go perfect, slightly out of tune, that's a perfect fifth. Well, think about it. Our ears have learned that equal temperament is actually in tune, and it isn't. Now remember, each half step has 100 cents, which means there are 100 separate notes between those, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Now remember, equal temperament is fine because a lot of the intervals are pretty good, but a couple of them are way out. We'll talk more about that later, but just know that a few intervals are grotesquely out of tune as you play them on that electronic piano or any keyboard, right? It's out of tune. And so we want to learn what really in tune or just intonation sounds like. So rehearsal technique number 2, discover that the piano lies. The worst thing you can see is, particularly in the BHS world, I've seen a guy goes, okay, here's your notes, guys. Okay, you sing this, and you sing this, and you sing this. And so they blow each note on the key. Well, this is already an out of tune chord that you're blowing for people, even if the pitch pipe is perfect. So remember, the piano, the pitch pipe, it all lies in terms of the relationships between the notes. This is great to get a starting note, but that's it. Our ears have learned that out of tune is in tune, right? All right, personal rehearsal number 3. We learn the melody in relation to the tonal center. So if the melody's in the lead part, obviously it is most of the time, it's in relation to do. So in rhythm, if for those of you that are band people like me, we learn, if we want to hear that, we subdivide. And so we have something to hold on, because if we just can't find that, we think that, or we have something we can go back to. So that kind of internal pulse is something we can remember the whole song, and it works really, really well. That's why jazz bands don't count. They don't just start, they go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the director walks away, right? That internal, that's what they relate it to. For pitch, we feel do internally. Heart of my heart, do, I love you, do, life would be not, do, without you, do. We always have to kind of keep track of that pitch as a melody singer, all right? Harmony singers, are you ready? You sing harmony in relation to the melody. So like rhythm, we subdivide in the pulse and turn like the other one, but for pitch, we hear and feel the melody and we sing to the melody. We don't necessarily sing to the pitch pipe or the tuning. Of course, those notes are going to be approximations of the same. They're going to be the same written notes on the page, but your ear has to tune to what you're singing with. If you are a person who's been singing barbershop 10 or more years, you all know what I'm about to say to be true, which is, okay, in that measure, I sing that F like normal, but then in the bar line in the next measure, the same note F, I have to sing slightly higher for it to tune, right? We have to tune in relation to the melody, not to the pitch, not to do. Next, duet with professionally made learning tracks. I started in the 1980s, and I had well-meaning people make learning tracks for me as a new barbershopper. but it was like the four guys standing around. They'd hold their cassette tapes. We all remember that, right? And they would record the song, and then they would make copies of that, and I would practice with these cassette tapes. The problem was that well-meaning man of good character would maybe miss a couple notes, would maybe miss a couple words, and would sing slightly high, slightly low. And when I played that tape over and over and over, I would burn that into my memory path. And it's so hard to undo that. And you all know what I'm talking about. So I'd suggest you duet with professionally made learning tracks. So obviously first, learn your own part. We know that, but here's the piece that we can really improve your tonal center. Leads. Duet against the actual bass part. So just the bass in this ear and pull out those three. So you're only singing against the bass, because now the tonal center is like, oh, I'm relating to this other part, not just singing against all three. And it really reveals some really nice adjustments. But the most powerful one is the tenor bearing the bass, duet with the lead. So if you're a tenor, learn your part, but then duet against the lead in isolation, and you'll learn so much. You'll learn like, oh, I'm really close to the lead, so I need a little more heat. Oh, I'm really high from the lead, I need to be a little bit lighter. I'm below the lead, I need even more heat. Baritones can do the same adjustment when they're above and below the lead. And of course, basses, just learning how they relate, right? So those professionally made learning tracks help. This one was turned on to me by my pal, Jim Henry. And he had his chorus do that, and he had the most basic of pitch pipes. And this is a free one. This one's called Pitch Perfect. Duet against the fifth, not against do. We like to use the fifth because the fifth harmonizes with way more of our barbershop chords than do. And you'll notice when you sing perfect intervals like P1 unison, P8 an octave, perfect fourth, perfect fifths, they lock really, really well. So for example, the song Heart of My Heart is in the key of A flat. But you're gonna blow the E flat to sing against that, but you're still gonna sing Heart of My Heart. So here's that E flat, the fifth. Ready?
This up here, so if you spill
Heart
it,
of my
you reach it.
heart, I love you. Life would be naught without you. And you can hear those moments where it locks in fours and fives. And I heard some questions out there. Are we still okay? Okay. I heard some talking. All right, I want to make sure I wasn't going too fast. So duet with an electronic drone, and it's great. You'll learn a whole bunch. And remember, this is free. Don't buy anything. Just Google free metronome or free pitch pipe. It's all there on the internet. This is my favorite secret sauce one, and it's really powerful to help you grow. And it seems a little strange as a personal rehearsal technique, but it's weird and I love it. Are you ready? Duet with a pitch pipe as you hum your part and blow the fifth. So we're gonna do the same thing. So here's the A flat for Heart of My Heart. And now I'm gonna blow this low E flat. And I'm gonna hum Heart of My Heart. And I want you to notice Heart of My Heart, unison, fourth, fifth, fourth. Just kind of notice those intervals as they really, really lock. And if I'm a little bit off, you'll hear it wobble, and then I can adjust. Make sense? Can I see some nods? Yeah. Nuts, right? It really works, especially in a personal way to learn. And remember that the fifth works better than tonic. And if you're uncomfortable with how to find that, just look at the key and count up 5 letters of the alphabet. So if you're in the key of F, go F, G, A, B, C. So you'll blow a C, right? You can really do it and you'll feel the wobble in your body. It really works well. Review personal recordings. I am stunned at my chorus people. Back when I was directing chorus, we would send out all these recordings and we had a little counter on how many times they were counted on YouTube, and people weren't watching them to see what we'd rehearsed. So this is an often missed step. When you feel in performance as you sing is bone conduction. So this is the moment that everyone has had where you hear a recording of yourself and you will say, on a stack of Bibles, I don't sound like that. And everybody around you starts laughing and they go, that's exactly how you sound. And the reason why that isn't how you sound is when you and I talk, we feel that bone conduction. And so the bones in our head are actually shaking. So it's not just sound, it's actually that conduction. So the recording doesn't have that. So it only gets the pitch that's out here, which can sometimes be a little bit different. So remember, the recording is what the audience hears. And you can notice like, oh, I'm kind of a scooper. Oh, I'm always a little high and get down. It's a great way to review and kind of check your pitch tendencies by yourself. Vowels and timbre can be misleading. That second word is not pronounced timbre, it's pronounced timbre. A lot of times we say it incorrectly in barbershop. So if we're gonna use that word, let's call it timbre. It's common to equate the tone or vowel with the pitch. They may feel related, but they're not. Remember, bright is not high and dark is not low. So try to just kind of separate those and practice singing higher or lower without like changing your mouth shape, right? Use technology to grow awareness. So if you Google online, free online tests, I included 3 if you're recording this, and I believe we are. There are 3, but you can literally hear like, we'll play 2 notes. Tell me if the second note is higher, lower, or the same. Doot, doot. And you'll go higher. They'll go, great, that was 25 cents higher. Now it'll be 15 cents higher or lower. Doot, doot. And you'll go, oh no. And pretty soon it'll get lower and lower and lower, and they'll only be 1 or 2 cents apart where it's very subtle. And it's a great way to grow your listening chops. It's fantastic. Just Google pitch perception tests. There are hundreds of them. Don't pay for any of them. They're all free, right? There's another young man by the name of Jacob Collier. And so if you were to Google or go onto YouTube and watch Jacob Collier, he's all about micro tuning. And he'll talk about, I made this key change, but I decided to go about 2 cents higher because I thought it would be more exciting. And here's me doing the same key change without going 2 cents higher. And it's stunning. And just to grow your awareness. This isn't about you becoming the next Jacob Collier. It's about for you to grow awareness of these subtle tuning adjustments using technology, right? And finally, to review, we talked about discovering the beats, discovering the piano lies. We sing the melody in relation to a tonal center. We sing harmony in relation to the melody. We duet with professionally made learning tracks, so we know that the quality is high and the pitch is most likely accurate. We duet against a drone or against the pitch pipe. We review personal recordings. Remember that vowels and timbre can be misleading, and we use technology to grow awareness. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. So that's the first half, your personal stuff. Questions, comments? Donny, you're full of hooey. That's fantastic. I'm all ears.
Well, I have one, Don. When you review personal recordings, what do you listen for? I mean, you wince, but what do you get from your personal recordings?
Yeah, well, you know what I like to do is, because I'm a sadomasochist, I blow the pitch pipe as I listen to my quartet rehearsals. And I just blow the pitch pipe through the recording, and it's like, oh, it's happening there. And it's mostly just about reviewing, so I can at least know this is what it sounds like. Now, we're talking again about really, really subtle stuff, right? If you want to work on that, if it's really grotesque tuning too, you can hear that too. But it's just about becoming aware, not just saying, oh, I hate hearing myself, so I'm not going to listen to recordings. Grow. Listen to recordings. It really, really helps. Other questions? Yeah.
That humming to the fifth thing was amazing.
Yeah. And P.S. you can hum, and for the people that are into this kind of stuff, there's a thing called resultant tones. You can make 3-part chords because the note you hum, the note in the pitch pipe, and then another note appears on top. So I'm going to hum a low note, and I'm going to go do, and the pitch pipe is going to be 1 note, and eventually you're going to hear above the note I'm humming, and I'm going to stop when I hear a 3-part chord. Are you ready? So here's a B flat. Can you hear? You may not, the speaker quality might be good enough, but there are these other notes happening. And it's all about just intonation, and it has to do with the overtone series, and it's all complicated, but it's fun, right? It's fun. And you don't have to know anything other than when you sing in tune, you have that feeling that you know that, oh, this feels so good, and I can't explain why, right? Everybody, right? Right? Fantastic. Any other questions before we talk about group rehearsal strategies?
Donnie, this I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm curious. Suppose you have a problem singing out of tune on a particular vowel. What do you suggest you do about that?
Yeah, we do a lot of work with our people on removing obstacles. So if it's a vowel or a vowel shape, we just put it to a neutral vowel, like an oo or an o or an ah or what, and we just kind of sing the whole thing and practice singing with that. So we learn the pathway for this is the note in tune. And then maybe we do it on one word. We ah. We do all those things like where we're moving back and forth, and then we go to the words that we want. There might be, sometimes there's so much tension that what feels right in our ear with the bone conduction is lower than what is actually being produced out front. We've all had that experience, right? Where people ask you to sing higher and you're like, that's not even the right note, but because what you hear inside, because of that conduction is fooling you, or the vowel is fooling you, that's where you have to listen to recordings. And for most people, it's not a big deal, but I don't know. That's what I have found when to help most of the people I know that are struggling with like a particular vowel is getting them caught up on something. By the way, if any of you have been around like gunshots or explosions or a heavy duty machinery, I had some guys that were in World War II, and their hearing was hurt, but they had hearing aids, but there were parts of their hearing that were gone, bands of frequencies that didn't work as well. So like they had really good up high, and then it kind of went away for a while, and then it came back. So I'm not talking about the ability to hear, I'm talking about the ability to hear frequencies. And those people actually could learn over time what it felt like to sing the correct note, the pitch we were after. But everybody out there knows that there's a feeling in your body when you sing certain notes, like, and I'm like, to my trombone player buddies out there, when we go to first position, we know what a B flat feels like here. We know what we feel it even before we make the sound. And singers, you know what I'm talking about. Have you ever sung a song a half step off and you're going, what the hell? This is completely wrong, you know, and then you adjust it by half step, you go, I'm home, right? So that's how it is with these kind of things. We can teach people what it feels like to sing in that tonality, but it's just about actual work, right? It's time. Any other questions? That's great. Thank you.
You mentioned a number of myths. I have one, but I've never heard anybody else say it, but I wonder, I think it's a myth to think that you should always practice a song in the same key.
Oh,
You agree?
I think it's fun to sing songs in different key. In general, my quartet or chorus never did the written key. I just take it as a suggestion, but it's based on the group. Everybody out there knows you've sung a song, you fight it, it doesn't work, A coach says, hey, let's try it up a half, or hey, let's try it down a whole, or whatever. And you go, this is going to be terrible. And everybody goes, and it just feels better, right? So I think it can be helpful to sing songs in different keys. I will tell you, there's a thing that we call tessitura, which is like, if the leads are always singing in a high E flat to a G, for a long time, we get kind of fried. So if we change that E flat to a G, to even a half step, D to an F sharp, that can make a massive difference in how we feel at the end of the song. And so I think experimenting with different keys is helpful. I think it's also good to stretch range. So while I don't think it's a myth, Tom, I think it's helpful to try songs in different keys, particularly in mixed groups when it doesn't really matter. You can go high, you can go low. There's all kinds of fun things you can try. So that's
Donny?
great. Yep.
Hi, Donny. Chuck over here.
Hey, Chuck.
Hi. Whenever I play something that I have sung alone, I never like the way I sound.
Yeah.
but everybody else who listens to me sing says it's pretty good, Chuck. So I don't know what to do, because
Right.
I think I'm too picky.
I think you're too picky, Chuck. And I think everybody on this call feels exactly the same way about their voice and their performance. If you talk to Sweet Adeline, Queens of Harmony, if you talk to gold medalists in BHS, if you talk to professional actors and actresses, one of my favorite things, by the way, I love to watch commentaries behind the movie. So like the movie is playing, but the director is talking with the actor at the same time. If you bought DVDs, this was a common feature that directors cut commentary. And every time it's like the actor's like, oh my gosh, I hate this scene so much. I look so terrible. And I'm always like, what are they talking about? This is great. But we're also hypercritical, Chuck. I think it's just, we just want to get better. So it's that balance, right? We have to give ourselves enough self-talk and enough love to get better. But we also don't want to say, well, I'm perfect, because we can always get better, right?
Yeah.
So Chuck, that brings me up to a piece about in the rehearsal. I have seen people quit music and quit barbershop. If you talk to people about singing, we're doing our HU takeover issue in the harmonizer in about a month. And you'll see Sandy Wright's article about the most frightening thing that people have to do. And it has to do with either public speaking or singing in front of people, right? It's the most frightening thing there is. And this is people who are SWAT team leaders, people who are police officers, people in the military. They'll say, oh, I could never sing in front of people, but I could defend the president, or I could, it's like, what? It's so amazing how frightening this is. So that's why it's critical as a culture of a group. We talk about pitch as this skill that we want to get better at. It's not this like finite, you have achieved it, you're terrible. It's just this journey. And we kind of love each other along the way. I'm going to keep going to the group stuff, and then we'll take some more questions. You guys had such great things to say. I'll pull back up my screen share here, and we'll do the group stuff. And all right. So group rehearsal techniques. Now remember, this is about groups that could be in a quartet or a chorus. And this is really important. Some of your singers will be far more sensitive and aware than others. So you have to acknowledge that we're all at different mastery levels, but remember, high tide raises all ships. So I was in a group in Nashville where I was talked to because the group was going flat, but I was talked to like I was an idiot, and it was really hurtful because I wasn't going flat, but the group went flat. And so it's important to not like kind of check yourself so that you think about, I'm trying to grow a skill so that we're not like belittling people and making them feel bad. Number one, if you forget everything I have said, don't forget this. Don't let well-meaning people test hum the pitch. So what I'm talking about is not a group warm-up. I'm talking about a well-meaning elderly gentleman who the nanosecond after he hears a B flat, he checks the pitch. It's typically out of tune, and it often sounds kind of like this. Now, the group will have to decide, do they listen to the pitch that wonderful man of good character just sang, or the pipe, right? They have to have that moment. Sorry, I'm gonna go back. And friends, this is a big deal because it's not about like having martial law, but we want to have a pitch that we can all agree on. And so what I would like to suggest for quartets and chorus rehearsals is that if you have a tune-up, it's very anal and specific how you do it. So if we're going to have a tune-up, when we blow the pitch, I don't want you to let everybody kind of, we just kind of come in like gangbusters, because we're setting up the audience and setting up ourselves for a crappy performance. And what we just said with that tune-up is, hey, audience, just want to let you know what you're about to hear is crappy, right? We want to treat the tune-up like we treat our walk-on, like we treat the song, like we treat our close, like we treat our MC work. It's all connected. So that tune-up and that part of that performance is about setting the pitch. So I would suggest that either you have, if you're going to have everybody come in 4 parts, you blow the pipe, nobody moves, you look at them, and you have, if you have a tune-up, you have an agreed upon word or vowel. Now, if you're coming in on a note that isn't a tonic chord, like if you're singing Goodbye, My Coney Island Baby, it's not, oh, goodbye, it's oh, goodbye. It has that little 5/7 chord, right? So what most people find really helpful on the tune-up is to sing the tonic chord. So I would have the basses sing B flat, the baritone sing 5, the lead sing 1, the tenor sing 3, and have everybody sing the word good, because that's the first word on the tonic chord. Good, 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 good. And then they can even slide back. Good, good, oh, oh, good, if they need it. Now, if they don't need it, just start the song, but give them tools to practice the pitch. If somebody does test hum the pitch, love them, forgive them, and then say, oh, sorry, new pitch. And then blow a new pitch, a half step higher, a half step lower. And if somebody hums again, love them, forgive them, say, sorry, we just can't hum. Oh, goodbye, my and you're just going to blow different pitches to train people like this is just a non-negotiable. Please promise with your right hand raised with nods that you will do this. Thank you. You will thank me later. Thank you. All right. Group rehearsal techniques. Harmonize the melody in relation to do. So the leads must know the melody and spots that they might want to wander. So obviously sometimes the lead, the melody is passed to the tenor or the baritone, the bass, that's fine. So have everybody sing the melody of the whole song, even if the melody moves around. So if it starts in lead, goes to tenor, have the basses, leads, baritones, and tenors all sing the melody from beginning to the end so they know, and they can do that a couple ways. Harmony singers could drone on 1 and 5 while the lead sing is written. So if you're singing Goodbye, My Coney Island Baby, basses could sing, oh, goodbye, my Coney Island baby, farewell, my own true love. And baritones could sing, oh, goodbye, my Coney Island baby. So we're singing all the right words, all the right time, but we're only singing 1 and 5. So the leads can sing, oh, goodbye, my Coney Island baby. And they can practice singing in relation to do. It's so powerful. And that way, leads are singing, baritones, tenors, basses are singing, but the leads are getting a workout on their pitch work, right? Play the Where's Do game. This is my favorite game. And this is a great activity. Yeah, go ahead.
With that last one, would you have the tenor singing the higher B flat?
Yeah, I'd have them sing 1 or 5. And I just let people sing if they want to sing 1 or 5. Don't sing 3 because I don't want a major chord, right? I just want 1s and 5s. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Where's Do is a very simple game. So you're going to sing a section where the entire group is singing 4 parts. So if we're singing Heart of My Heart, and I'm singing baritone, heart of my heart, I love you. Do. Life would be not without you. Do. Right? We're going to sing a whole section, 4 parts, and we're going to practice stopping. And the do you sing could be in any octave as long as it's 1. So it could be do or do or do, right? We're just going to practice singing Where's Do. And practice this in cadence moments that do and do not rest on the tonic. So the one I just did, life would be not without you. Do, extremely easy for the chorus to find do. Basses and leads are already singing do. Baritones and tenors will have an easy time finding do because that's the tonic chord. They'll find it very quickly. What's harder is when you get a little bit further away from do. Light of my life, my darling. Do. It's harder to find it there, and they'll laugh and struggle, right? This is a long game, right? We're just trying to get the idea of where is do, because like a instrumentalist thinking da, 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 we have that pulse going, right? As singers, leads have to have this do, with that do, do. It's always in their brain. It makes a huge difference, right? Introduce microtuning. This is a long-term strategy, but use physical gestures. So I like to use arms or trombones, right? So I'll have men and women sing da, or a trombone, da, and I'll go, great, now let's go a little slower. Da, great, now let's take 10 seconds to get there. Right? So we're going to practice like, oh my goodness, it takes a while to find those half steps, right? I love to have the chorus sing out of tune on purpose and then sing in tune. The way you do that is you have everybody sing like, this is your representation of, we are in tune. We are slightly out of tune. We're terribly out of tune. So it might be, heart of my heart, I love you, life could be not without you. And to have the chorus feel like, oh, it wobbles, it shakes. And they begin to recognize like, oh, those fast wobbles are really bad. That's those beats. And there's something about how it feels when we all sing in tune, right? It's the idea of micro-tuning, that we make these subtle adjustments, right? You got to grow awareness, friends. This is a long journey. This is not something that, hey, I got it tonight. I got it in 10 minutes. No, 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 no. This is years. Just introduce the idea that there are these subtle tuning changes that we can make. Again, Google Jacob Collier as the best example. This kid is a freak. I love it. He goes, I would like to now put 6 steps between a C and a C sharp. Do, 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 do. You know, here's no steps. Do, do. You know, it's crazy. It's really, really fun. So Google Jacob Collier to hear what happens when you make these slight tuning adjustments. It's really, really powerful. Introduce voice part traps. My quick disclaimer is this is my experience as a longtime high school, collegiate, and barbershop person, right? And it's quick and dirty, and it's a generalization, but just know that these are what I have found to be general, the big traps on each voice part, based on the second degree of a scale. So if you sing a song in the key of C, in general, when the bass sing a D, they need to sing higher than the piano. So get your brain ready for that. In general, when the bass sing 2 in a song, so in the key of G when they sing an A, in the key of B when they sing a C sharp, in the key of E flat when they sing an F, whatever, they sing 1, the second degree or re of the scale, they need to sing slightly higher. The most easy to hear example is the me, mi, my, mo, moo, me, mi, my, mo, off the piano higher, moo. And they tend to sing me, mi, my, mo, moo. They always tend to sing low, right? Not you, just kind of basses in general as a trap. So find that second and sing it higher. A lot of directors I know of really high level choruses, when they hand out music, the bass section gets together and says, okay, we're in the key of F. Let's go through and circle all the G's. And they make sure that they're kind of ready for those traps. Yes, of course, basses struggle with singing high 7s and all that stuff, but we're talking about just the biggies, right? Second degree of the scale. Baritones. This isn't particularly a tuning piece, but it impacts the tuning wildly. Baritones, when you are above the lead, sing like a tenor. In general, we sing too loud when we're above the lead. Baritone, when you are below the lead, sing like a bass. Baritones, there is nothing as exciting as a robust bass clef that's rocking underneath the leads and tenors. And the leads and tenors don't even know what's happening and why it's so cool. It's because the baritones are filling out that chord when they are below the lead, right? And in general, baritones, when you're below the lead, you are historically on 1 or 5 of the chord, which is why we want a lot of those sounds. Baritones, when you're above the lead, in a generic sense, you're probably on the 3rd or the flat 7, obviously exceptions, but that's why I want those to be a little bit lighter, right? And if you're lighter when you're above, the audience can now hear the lead. It's kind of like the classic problem I hear with a lot of young quartets. The baritone will sing, heart of my heart, and the lead sings, heart of my heart. And so the audience hears, heart of my heart. They lose the melody because the baritone sings too loud above. So when the baritone sings below, big, 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 light, 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 big, right? Just think about when you're above and below. It's a great way to help the tuning and the chords lock. Leads, in a generic, grotesque way, when we tend to sing either held notes like on a hanger or repeated notes, they tend to sag as a voice part trap, right? So if you listen to recordings, particularly of B level and C level and D level quartets, they just kind of tend to kind of go down over time. And so the analogy people use is, as you hold a note, we're going to just keep putting onion skins under it, or we're going to think of it like the front of a ski tip, right? It's just going to kind of be rising. I don't want you to go sharp, but I want you to recognize that on repeated notes or held notes, we tend to go flat over time. Tenors on minor barbershop sevenths. This is the most difficult, and this one took me like 5 to 10 years to learn as a highly trained instrumentalist in this crazy barbershop world, barbershop sevenths. So when we sing a dominant 7 chord, so if we're in the key of B flat, when we sing that F7 chord and the tenor sings the E flat, and we love that barbershop 7 sound, it's great. And they sing an E flat on the piano that is grotesquely sharp. So tenors need to sing 23 cents lower down. 23 cents is a quarter of a half step. 23 cents is a massive alteration of piano tuning. Your dead goldfish will hear the difference between 23 cents. It's not subtle. This isn't a, well, if you have a music degree, you will hear it. So flat 7, that particular one is the hugest voice trap. If you play along on the piano and learn on the piano, you're doing a terrible disservice, right? So it's learning how to slot in on those sevenths for the tenors. Sing parts against a drone like we talked about. You could practice your part. And remember, this is just kind of getting you in the ballpark, right? In a group rehearsal technique. And I like to do this with multiple pipes. And people would laugh at me because they'd say, geez, Don, do you think the drone's loud enough? And I said, I would rather that the drone be louder than they're singing so that they really know what they're relating to. So you can sing all four parts of the chorus singing with 4 or 5 people holding like pitch pipes in the back. And I like electric ones because they tend to not disagree like pitch pipes do, right? So all 4 parts are singing, and we got the 5th going. Remember, you could also do it with harmony parts or droning on the 1 and 5 while the melody is singing written like we did in that personal rehearsal time. You could do the same thing on the melody and they could drone and work with the harmony parts, right? Just the idea of kind of keeping that tonal center so it doesn't drop. It's pretty powerful. So to review the 6 concepts, there are many more that we talked about today are: don't let well-meaning people test hum the pitch, harmonize the melody in relation to do. Where is do game? It's a great way to grow that. Introduce the concept of micro-tuning. Introduce voice part traps that you see in your chorus. And remember, your chorus may have something different that you tend to always do. For example, I know a lot of choruses that they blow the pitch pipe, and for some reason, we always come in slightly low in 4 parts, right? And that's just a skill we got to grow, right? You know better than I do for your group. And then sing parts against a grow is a great rehearsal technique. Whew. Well, I hope 1 or 2 of those will help you in the next couple of weeks. Now, remember, you can go to barbershop.org for many more materials. We've got all kinds of free classes, all kinds of free stuff. We welcome our Sweet Adeline sisters, our Harmony Inc. sisters, our barbershop brothers, or people that are not in barbershop, all kinds of free stuff. And if you have a question for me, you can reach out to me at my name, drose@barbershop.org. Well, I hope that's helpful. Are there any questions about some group rehearsal stuff that I can answer right now before my time is up?
I got one.
Yeah, Tom.
In addition to singing re high for the basses, are there any other quick notes that come to mind?
Sure. That's the big one.
Yeah.
The one I found also is that if we have older gentlemen singing bass and we're going high, usually around 7, 8, we never quite make it up to the same do, right? So that 7, and this is a concept I use with B and A level groups that I don't usually bother with, but I'll let you know. And it's my favorite saying, which is there are no half steps. There are only quarter steps and 3/4 steps. So what that means is, if you sing, you don't really sing actual half steps like the piano. And obviously I'm not talking about getting out your TE tuner and measuring every note, but just kind of think to yourself, like, if I'm singing in relation to do, these notes are a little more flexible. And sometimes they'll be a little bit higher than the piano. Sometimes it will be a little bit lower than the piano. And harmony singers, probably the worst plight a really good person in barbershop can have, if they are truly pitch perfect, it can be a real obstacle because they have to sing in relation to what is happening around them, not what is right. And so that's a challenge. So I've found bass singers kind of struggling when that higher range, keeping up on that tonality, and frankly, singing light enough, particularly my older singers who were taught to be manly men and sing with a basso profundo kind of sound, rather than singing clean and lovely like Rick Stabb and Bluegrass Student Union, right? Just singing beautiful and high and pingy, right? That's what we want. We don't want, Jeff Oxley can do it, but that isn't necessarily what we want from all of us, right? We just want a beautiful tone that is in tune. It's better to be beautiful and in tune than awesome and really bombastic and out of tune, right? We'd rather have something that's freely produced and beautiful.
So I have a quick question. First, thank you, Danny, for an awesome seminar. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Joe and Matt Hatters, for inviting us. I was with you at Harmony University a couple of years ago from Silken Sounds. Just really curious of your thoughts on Zoom rehearsals in this awkward time. What are you finding that works?
Yeah, well, the first thing we know is the technology like Jamulus and Jack Trip and all those wonderful technologies for actually having people sing have the roadblock of fast internet speed. So we know that if you have high-speed fiber, and we know if you have a shared server, and we know that you have some specific equipment at your home, it can be spectacular for 4 or 5 people. We know of no place where that is happening on a regular basis, unfortunately. And with groups that are like choruses, it just doesn't work. So what you can do is decide to do things like, well, Christina, since our normal kind of rehearsal things don't work, what can we do that works? So we did a Harmony U, as you may or may know, last summer virtually. So we did an Everyone Harmony chorus virtually. So we had sectionals, and the sectional leaders would go around and sing a section, then they would take people off mute and they would sing their part. And it isn't perfect, but it kind of works. So since we know we can't learn the way we used to learn, we just kind of have to learn different ways. So trying to recreate a rehearsal you would have in person on a Zoom call is like a kindergarten teacher trying to create kindergarten class on a Zoom call with their kid. It just doesn't work. My daughter's a kindergarten teacher. So she says, Dad, it's terrible. I hate this. I go, I know, honey, it's hard. And so you just have to reinvent what works. So what works in this setting, for example, one of the things that works great, Christina, is my friend Rob Mance and his women's chorus. They have You Be the Judge, and they watch a video of 4 choruses, and then all of the women hold up their score to the video screen. And then they have their different judges talk about the score that they've given them and why. And what they discovered, Christina, is over the time, the band of difference narrowed and narrowed, and people are like, oh, that really meant. And it's just about growing. And they're not singing, but they're learning, right? Another powerful tool is to say stuff like, let's look at our repertoire. We haven't changed it for years. What song was written in the last 10 years that our audience might know that is available for sale from Sweet Adelines or BHS or somebody, right? Or Hal Leonard, right? How are we doing with our community outreach? I caught the end of like, we're doing Singing Valentine's for free. And that's service, right? So there's all those different kinds of things you can do in a virtual environment. But Christina, I'm not gonna lie to you, it sucks. It's not, right? We all agree, right? This isn't what we signed up for. But there is a part of this that's about community. And I think probably the worst thing that could happen is if, let's say tomorrow, boom, COVID gone, we can be together. If everything went back to as it was before, what a huge loss, because we've learned so much. So why would you guys not continue to gather together sometimes as a community. Why would you not have Donny Rose talk to you from freaking Bellingham, Washington for free instead of flying him out? That'd be fine too. But you could just, why would you not take advantage of technology, right? It's all there. Why would you not watch videos? Why would you not record yourselves? All those things that we know, it's possible. And I'm a music teacher, guys, and I'm going freaking nuts. I hate this so much too, because I want to be with you. I want to be with my barbershop people. I want to be with my instrumental people. You know, I'm 2 miles from a club that wants to hire me, and I can't play piano there because of freaking COVID, right? You know, it's terrible. So this too will pass. But since we have this time, what a great time to have your music team get together and say, what's our vision? Where do we want to be in 2 years? What's our next show? Once COVID's over, how are we going to thrive? What is our first rehearsal back going to look like? Tom, fix those squeaky risers. I'm talking to you, Tom. Whatever, right? There's all those little things that we never seem to get around to. Are you inclusive? As I look at the people on the screen, I see a lot of differences, but I also see some things that are the same. Do you look like your community? How could you look more like your community, right? When I play in parts of Seattle, I learned that we had this huge Asian American population. So I bugged my buddy, like, you got to teach me something. You got to teach me a Japanese tune. I want to have a Japanese tune in my back pocket, man. I got to have, so I want to sit at the piano. And so he taught me this children's song that's kind of like their equivalent of Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I made sure I learned it really, really, really well. So I had it in my back pocket. And so I had the guys hum these kind of, block chords, and I sang Kala Sunazena Kuno, and they were like, holy crap. And now I have a bridge, and now I have a connection. But if only I sing things that I know and love, they're like, oh, that's great. You look like you're having fun, right? How can I connect to my community, right? That's the opportunity we have right now. And I hope you'll think about particularly your music. Joe and I have talked about this before, but friends, I'm a working musician, and the absolute worst thing I can do is play beautiful music that nobody knows. If you go to see Neil Diamond and he does not play Sweet Caroline, it's January 6th, man. That's going down. It's nuclear winter if he does not play Sweet Caroline, right? You expect that moment. And so as barbershoppers, as men and women who sing, we have an opportunity. Like, I'm going to a nursing home. Most of these people are 70, 80, 90. I know what to sing for them. I'm going to a grade school. What Disney tunes do we know? I'm going to a junior high. What's been on the radio in the last 5 years? We're going to a mall. What can we sing? Oh, this area has more people who speak Russian. Can we ooh the song and our friend who speaks Russian sing this verse in Russian? Whatever, right? You have all these opportunities. It's just a great opportunity. So thanks, Christine.
Donny.
Yeah.
Hi. John Downey, now living in Ackworth, Georgia, singing with the Big Chicken Chorus, formerly a member and still active with the Danbury Mad Hatters. Just yesterday, we had a get together with the Big Chicken Chorus outside using microphone connections. And it was a harmony that we hadn't heard in a long time because, as we know, Zoom doesn't work well in that regard.
Right.
But the microphone system used outside, each person tuned in through the radio and singing into a microphone, worked really well.
Yeah, FM radio, yeah.
There are alternatives, weather permitting.
Yep. FM radio stuff. We have actually, we've sent out a couple articles about that, and there'll be another one in the Harmonizer coming about that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. That's so great. Yep. Well, right on, friends. Thank you for letting me get up on your grill and share some stuff and talk about my hopes for y'all. I'm just so proud of you for meeting. I'm so proud of you for collaborating. Way to go. That's great.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome, Annette. I hope too that you remember that when this ends, don't forget these connections. This is so cool. Why would you go back, right? Take the good stuff, throw out the bad stuff, right? Keep going, right?
Yeah, well, these groups have actually we've been very lucky. We've done joint concerts together before, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
That's beautiful, beautiful. And friends, you know, I tell everybody this, and we get all kind of teary. Can you imagine in the month that it happens? So I don't want to say a month, but in the future, when we can all be together, and you hear somebody blow a pitch pipe, and we stand together and we sing. Can you imagine how beautiful that's going to be? And nobody will be able to sing because we'll all be crying, right? It's gonna be great. It's just going to be awesome. So, you know, I think sometimes these strange things taken away from us can make us go, oh my goodness, this is a little more important than I thought, right? And let's fight for it. Let's get it back. And let's find more people, not to make money, not to get a better score, but because you have been enriched, so you want to share that with other people so that they're enriched too, right? That's what we're hoping for. Well, thank you, friends. I appreciate your time so much. Have a great evening. I love you. I miss you. I want to see you in the future.
All right, everyone, unmute and just give Donny one heck of a thank you for coming. And
Thank you, Donny.
Thank you. Hey, Donny.
Thank you, Donny.
Thanks, Donny.
All right.
Yay.
Beautiful.
Good grade.
You're welcome to join us at our next rehearsal, Donny.
You just got to ask. You just got to ask. Well, thank you, friends. Our virtual chapter visits have been so uplifting. I hope you recognize that it's really helped our staff, who just feels like so downtrodden, because we want to help. We want to serve, but we're just like, So this has been great for me personally. So thank you. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Take care, friends. We'll see you next
Hi,
time.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Excellent.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.